Hey everyone, in this episode of We Came From the Future podcast, we'll be looking at a project called Kolectiv GG, which is actually launching tomorrow, their pre-sale, or 18th. If we actually look at their Twitter, March 18th, there will be a launch, so make sure you follow them. They're basically a collectible card set, a little bit different than the traditional art, but it looks like there's going to be 20, 30, 50 more artists that will be creating the art for the cards. There will be games such as leaderboards. There will be an exchange, zero gas fees because it will be on the Immutable X platform. So a little bit different to just traditional art collecting, but it was very exciting to talk to Mark, who is the founder of Kolectiv. Previously, they did work with Epics GG, which is another one of their products. You can see esports players, popular ones, that they use to kind of play different games in. So it's a very interesting perspective and a very interesting project because a little bit different than the traditional just art or NFT collecting. There's a little bit more to the game than just that. So please welcome Mark. We'll be moving on to the podcast, and I hope you guys enjoy this one.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Maddie here from We Came From the Future podcast, where we interview people in the NFT space, founders, artists, anyone, an entrepreneur, basically people making moves in the NFT space. It's been here for 2-3 years. It's starting to blow up, and it's just such a hotbed of innovation. So we've got Mark from Kolectiv. How are you, Mark?
Good man. Thanks for having me.
No, my pleasure. So I'd love to learn about your product and all that sort of stuff and deep dive into the project. But before that, let's quickly talk about what is Kolectiv, just at a skim overview, and then we'll talk about your background so people know what the podcast is about.
Great, sure. Yeah, Kolectiv is basically a project that we've been working on for a few months now. And what we wanted to do is basically create, kind of an old school collector card set, but focus it more on the art, the people, and kind of the events of the past year in crypto. We took a look at it. We're like, this ecosystem changes so much every year that it'd be cool to kind of have, this kind of commemorative set of cards that would kind of, freeze it in a moment in time so you could look at it and how it changes from year to year. So we reached out to a bunch of, top NFT artists and kind of floated the idea with them. They actually were super excited about it. So we put it together pretty quickly, and now we're launching the pre-sale next week.
Nice. So what's your background? I know you've done Epics GG. We'll get into a bit of that. But before all that, where did you come from? How did you start entrepreneuring or getting involved in like internet businesses?
Yeah, so I've been entrepreneuring for quite a few years now. I started my first company when I was in university with some friends. We were playing a game called Counter-Strike back in the day, kind of networking over the local area network that we had at the time. And we started organizing some tournaments and leagues and ladders and stuff, and got kind of annoyed that people wouldn't show up for matches or would report scores. So we started to write some software to automate that and turn it into a business, and ended up being lucky enough to sell it to a company down in California. And they asked me to move down and help them acquire and spin a business out of Viacom called Xfire. So any of you OG PC gamers out there will probably remember Xfire. It was kind of like the Discord of its day. It was the largest chat platform for gamers for many years. So I did a lot of product and monetization related stuff, and then ended up taking over as CEO for a while as well. And we happened to acquire a company there called Joust, and that's my current business partner Gavin's company. So we got to know each other. Got to enjoy building product together, and ended up, jumping out and starting Epics GG, which is basically a collectibles platform. Started back in 2017, back when the original, hype was getting going around Ethereum NFTs like CryptoKitties. And basically what we did was we wanted to provide a next generation collectibles platform. So I grew up collecting sports cards. Gavin grew up in the UK, so Panini stickers and stuff like that around. Football is huge over there. And we also got into the scene around Counter-Strike again, where there's these digital items in the game, right, called skins. So essentially skins are just paint jobs for your gun. And those paint jobs are either very common or very rare. And Valve actually did something pretty cool where they actually have these scratches and dings and dents in the paint jobs of these guns. And they actually have as detailed as a 13-digit number that tells you exactly how, worn out your gun is. And so we had an auction site before we did Epics, where we would auction off some of the highest value skins in the game. And some of those would end up going for, $100,000 plus.
Wow.
So, we started to understand, like, coming from the game industry, you always kind of know that people will pay for a digital item and ascribe value to it. But that was like a lights on moment where, there are whale collectors that would spend $100,000 plus on a skin that they didn't even own in the game. And, Valve famously makes it very hard because, like, we would have bought accounts on Steam that would manage the items for us so that we could keep them in, reserves and stuff like that and bank them. And Valve, every once in a while, if they thought the suspicious activity was happening, they would ban the account. So we could lose, tens of thousands of dollars on an account, and there's no recourse whatsoever, right? Valve just, they ban your account. You can't ever get them back. So, we were like, well, that doesn't seem right. If I own a digital item and I pay thousands of dollars for it, really, it should be my item. There's no reason why that shouldn't be the same as the real world. And so, we kind of looked at both of these things and we said, okay, people are going to be willing to spend lots of money on digital items, and the ownership of those digital items is going to become more and more important. And the existing, companies in this space, like the Tops and the Paninis of the world, they just don't really seem to get it. They haven't come around to the fact that you can create digital trading cards that you actually own, and they're just going to be worth orders of magnitude more than the apps that they have now, where you don't actually own anything and you just pump money in. So we kind of looked at that. I was fortunate enough when I lived in LA to have some good friends that were early on in the crypto and blockchain space. Some of my good friends were behind, like, Mastercoin, the early founders of Tether before they sold it to Bitfinex. And so I got to talk and kind of hang around and soak up as much information as I could from these people. And so we put Epics together really with the goal of, like, building the next generation collectibles platform. Collectibles platform where we focus on digital and mobile first, where we actually give true digital ownership to the people who are collecting these items, and really with the vision of, closing our eyes and, imagining 100 years from now in a virtual auction house somewhere, in the metaverse, our digital items selling for, millions of dollars, just like, a Honus Wagner does today, from the traditional baseball space. That was kind of what we wanted to do, and we've kind of been on the journey ever since. So I guess that our main focus maybe has been gaming and esports so far. So we partnered with some of the top esports brands in the world, including Team Liquid, FaZe Clan, G2, Fnatic. We also work with ESL, which is the largest tournament organizer in the world. So we work with them on Counter-Strike. And we also just recently launched our first set of cards with Tencent as well for PUBG Mobile, which is one of the largest mobile games in the world. And we got lots of other stuff in the works as well.
So are those NFTs already on Epics GG?
So basically, we run our own sidechain, and then we bridge to Ethereum.
Okay.
So basically, when we started in 2017, obviously, we took a pragmatic approach where we looked at it and we said, we want to provide a mass market product.
So sorry, Mark. So
there's an entry point.
Just quickly rewind. Yep. So Epics GG,
sure.
Did that come in? That came up in 2017.
Correct. Yeah.
And we
started in 2017. Yeah.
Was the mindset for that project to be a blockchain or a NFT project, or did you happen to come across NFTs along the way?
We always wanted to be an NFT project.
Oh, right.
So
okay,
basically,
cool.
in our sidechain, we track the ownership history of all the items. We provide a bridge to Ethereum as well. So basically, you can take any of your items out of your wallet on our system and connect your MetaMask and move the item out. We've done stuff in the past as well with Devin and the guys from OpenSea, where we've done auctions of our items there. And we also tokenize a lot of our rarer items when they're minted. So items like digitally signed cards. We've got like cards with unique digital signatures and the players and stuff like that. We tokenize those when they're minted as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Kolectiv is our first approach where we're actually partnering with Immutable. We announced that a couple weeks ago, and we're building it all out on layer 2. So we're using their ZK rollup solution that them and Starkware are working on.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is our first foray and test to say, okay, layer 2 is here. It's finally something that's we think is going to work. I've literally since 2017 spoken to every layer 1 solution out there, from Flow to Binance to Near Protocol to Solana to you name it. Tons of layer 2 solutions, Plasma, you name it. And we never really found anything that we really believed in as far as the security, the composability, and just the decentralization that we think is important for digital objects. Again, with a 100-year time frame in perspective, that's really going to matter in the future. And so when we started looking into layer 2 solutions, Optimism came up. Obviously, works great for ERC20 tokens. Not a great solution for NFTs due to the weak lag of time you need to wait for withdrawing to layer 1. And ZK rollups came out. We got super excited about it, looked into every solution we could find. And once we started talking to Robbie from Immutable, it was like that. It's just like a simpatico view of how things need to evolve and where things need to go. And so we were super excited to be one of the first, pioneering projects on the platform. And it's time to kind of push the ball forward and see if we can contribute to the
Nice.
ecosystem.
Have you tested it yet? Like, have you been able to deploy and test there?
Yeah, we've been working on all of that right now in the back end. Yeah, our team's doing the integration now.
Nice. Well, me and I'm sure many others are very excited for projects that have very little friction with gas fees, because we come from the background of just having to pay stupid gas fees.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt. Like anytime I'm doing trades on Uniswap, actually, I don't even look anymore. I'm just like, it's going to cost me something, and I'm going to get more value anyway, so why even bother looking?
Exactly.
But I hear you. Yeah.
But it's okay for people that engage in certain projects and certain level of transactions. Like when you're doing $500 purchases and beyond, it makes sense. But it really prices out like the new person that wants to mint art, or the new person that wants to trade a $5 card. The projects that have $5, $10 cards and all that sort of stuff. So it is so necessary. And I think when you transition into there, I think that's like almost the final hurdle that we have to really turn the switch on and just be like, yo, these are projects and products out there. And right now NFTs are becoming known to people. So people are familiar with what this is at some sort of level. So all it is just products that match the demographics interests. And then bam, you have a demographic almost.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, from conversations that we're having, every major game publisher out there is very much looking at this space and is very curious about it. So it will be a matter of time.
We were on Clubhouse like last year sometime. Or was it? Yeah, last year at the end of maybe September, October. And it was like, someone from Fortnite, someone from... No, Epic Games, right? Aren't they the
Epic Games? Yeah. So Tim Sweeney's actually, he's wrote some good blog posts actually about the metaverse and
yeah. He's very metaversey. I don't think I've heard him speak specifically about NFTs, but I know that his mindset's very like community content based, which is really what NFTs unlock.
Yeah, I'll share a post, a tweet that he did actually that shares a post. Our lead investor, Bitcraft, which is I think the most active investor in gaming and esports now. They basically just brought on a new partner, and he's from Delphi. So basically, he's written a whole bunch of articles about the metaverse, and Sweeney actually shared one of them on Twitter.
I think I know him.
So I know he's.
Can I say his name or no?
Piers. Yeah.
Yeah, Piers.
Yeah.
I've seen him around, and that was a really good metaverse article, and it's great. I mean, you can't ignore NFTs now, especially in the gaming sector. So we can rewind it back there. You mentioned Team Liquid and some projects and esports teams that I am familiar with, and I actually thought the NFT Gateway drop, the OG Sports drop was like the first,
Yeah, OG.
their first like kind of realization to NFTs. But obviously, with your platform, they've known about this for a while. So what's that industry's, the gaming sector's, the esports sector's take on it? Do you have any insight on that?
Oh, they love it. So basically, I think you're going to see an explosion in the amount of things that are coming out from esports teams in the next little bit. I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? You've got an audience of people who already are big consumers of digital items that already place value on them. And on top of that too, like we actually find that, I know you've kind of talked about this before about like the physical NFTs and the digital NFTs and whether people actually value the physical. Maybe just to tell you a story, like we just launched in November our first hybrid cards, like trading cards, where you can actually get the physical card and then every one of them has a unique code. And you scan it, and then it unlocks the digital NFT twin in the app. And I'll tell you, like those things sold like wildfire. Absolutely crazy, the sales, because you get the best of both worlds, where you get the tactile feel of having something physical that you can show off in your home, and on top of that, you get the digital item which you can put in your showcase. Every single card that we mint actually has a leaderboard score as well. Depending on its mint number and its rarity. So you can actually compete against other people on the leaderboards to prove like you're the top FaZe fan or Team Liquid fan.
Right.
So like that's absolutely like super cool as well. And to my knowledge, I don't think any physical card manufacturer's ever done that before. So I think that, those types of products are going to get like more and more prevalent in the esports space. And I think they're going to be some of the first adopters to do some really cool stuff.
I'm surprised we haven't seen more, but I think it's just stalled because it takes like, a year or 2 or 3 to really come out with a platform to push it out there. But I'm so excited for at the end of this year and next year, I really want gaming to just take over. I mean, art's going to definitely be its own thing, its own beast. But gaming is just something that I'm sure the majority of at least the crypto demographic, but between certain age groups are just going to like adopt straight away. We've been dying for this stuff. So
I can't wait to see a game that has, the type of level of complexity of a Warcraft, that type of economy that's actually based on a crypto economic model. I think it'll be extremely explosive. And once gamers start to see the power of that type of economy, I think the rest of the game publishers are going to look at it, and somebody's going to do it, and somebody's going to blow it out of the water, and everybody else is going to have to catch up real quick.
Well, all they need to do is just switch on an NFT marketplace. If they already have a mass user base and someone like Warcraft or RuneScape, and they just like switch it on and just convert everything to an NFT, suddenly they have the same thing, a secondary market. But they have to figure out the model.
As long as it scales on the pricing. That's the number one thing, because I'm sure a lot of them are looking at it and saying, ultimately they don't want to use a small blockchain because a lot of them are unproven. So, some of the ghost chains out there, there's also the issue of, security, governance, kingmaking, all that kind of stuff that they're concerned about. Ethereum is really decentralized. It is neutral. And so that's the type of platform that people are really going to want to build on. Everything just comes down to the scaling. And I think people are going to be surprised over the next couple of months, how much the scale is going to be shown.
Awesome. I can't wait. Big Ethereum fan. Do you see like in the esports space or the gaming space, do they value the tech and Ethereum, or are they cool with like other chains? Because obviously Ethereum has a longevity, it's got the security, it's got the probably 100-year plus time frame. Does that sort of stuff matter to them as well, or?
So I think once you have like longer conversations with people and walk them through why it matters, I think they get it right away. And I do think that there is a hesitancy from people to work with things that are smaller. They want liquidity for their users. Like if you're going to collect an OG ring, and it's locked in a smaller blockchain or something that's controlled by a private company, and you say, hey, I have this solution that's actually neutral. It has probably 10 marketplaces that have tons of liquidity on it, and it's the second largest blockchain, $200 billion of value in this ecosystem. Those two things aren't necessarily, as soon as you explain that to them, it's a pretty obvious decision for them to make.
Yeah. What do you think is going to happen to all the Ethereum killers once Ethereum scales?
Maybe they'll find a niche somewhere. Maybe I just think that it's going to be so hard to beat the network effects of Ethereum, especially as it starts to grow. I think what Flow did with using a brand like the NBA to build out its ecosystem. Maybe that can enable them to grow more and stay relevant. Ultimately, though, I think if they don't bridge to Ethereum, it's going to be like an iceberg in the ocean, just melting over time.
Yeah, I think the only way you can compete at a strong level is to just have a huge use case and a big case study and a big IP like NBA Top Shot. I mean, I think it's done over $1 billion in volume. You take something like that and a case study, and they'd probably any like sports company would probably jump on board because they don't really care about decentralization that as much. But that's it's interesting to see what will happen in the next year or two in terms of like projects and what they will adopt.
Yeah, it's going to be it's a huge race and land grab right now too. Like everyone's out there. Lots of people having conversations with IP owners, and I think the IP owners too. They realize that this is such a new ecosystem that they'll probably want to dip their toes in multiple places and see kind of what ends up being the winner at the end of the day. So it's going to be an exciting couple of years for collectibles for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I think the big issue as well is that when companies want to get involved in this space and do this NFT stuff for them, they don't know where the hell to start. Not only do they need advice, they probably need to give out the whole contract for someone to take and lead who exists in the crypto space, because none of them are going to know, and there's not many people that have been even been here for a year plus. So I'm finding that very interesting too, because I'm getting emails of like, Maddie, can you advise on this? Maddie, do you want to just help us run it? And I'm like, I don't have time, but I love the project. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So rewind it back a little bit. So with EpixGG, if you talk about EpixGG, I took a look at their website. I wonder if I could just present it on the screen.
Sure.
Because it's I want to know more about the demographic. Who were the collectors? How did the marketplace work? What did you kind of learn with the collector base? Did you kind of feel like there were people that wanted to participate? And you said there was like utility to this, right? You said that you could use these in to
Absolutely.
like rankings and stuff. So were they were interested in the gamification? Were they interested in like the collectability? Like, how did you kind of find, what was the data telling you?
Yeah, so the great questions. So number one, what we found was we've really wanted to experiment with the platform, right, and see what we could build out. So we started with a very basic, collectors platform. So all of the things that you typically want if you're going to collect and have a collectibles portfolio. Number one is obviously just the cards and the packs, so you can open them up. You can view your collection. We do a season set, and then we also do special drops for different events as well. And then on top of that, we have trading, an integrated marketplace, so you can buy and sell. And then we've started to layer on a bunch of gamification features. So what we found was when we first launched, obviously there's a pool of users that want to collect and want to participate in the commerce around the collectibles. And then once we started layering on gamification features, like for instance, we have a game for Counter-Strike that allows you to build your ultimate team with your cards. So you can build your roster, and then you can go head to head against either the computer or against other players and their rosters. And we actually have like a simulated match that plays out. So you can watch, the two teams go after each other and, bomb plants, retakes, all that kind of stuff. And that was incredibly popular. So once we added that, we do like over 1 million game sessions a month now. So people love it, and lots and lots of activity on it.
Does it give more value to the cards? Like, so the
it does. Yeah, the interesting thing is because different players might play really well during one event, and the cards all have stats on them, right? And the stats for that event are actually, pulled from that event. So if a guy has, just a wicked weekend in the finals, and we release a card for that, well, you can use him on your team. And so, you always have to balance all the things like salary cap and different stuff. So you see people doing these granular things around maximizing different stats on different cards and pulling them from different. And so, yeah, you got to pay more for it if it's out there, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really interesting, and we're still learning and trying to improve. But I think there's lots of stuff that can happen for, adding layers of gamification on top of these collectibles.
Yeah, fantasy it's like a fantasy sports type setup, right?
Exactly.
Almost every single sports brand that has come here to the NFT space has kind of thought and implemented that model at some degree. I think where they've failed, for the ones that have failed, is the issuance of the NFTs to keep the collector base happy that they've got something rare, and also make it playable to the level that you can't just come in there with $1 million and then just own the whole.
Pay to win, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because there's always that kind of concern, right? And what we try to do is, with our cards, when you first get in, the lower ranked common cards that you can even earn for free just by playing, those have understandably like nerfed stats on them, right? So they're lower rated stats. You might get the player you want, but he's got lower rated stats. And you can use those in the initial stages of the game, and you can earn more and more as you go. But if you want to like hit the highest levels, then you got to rank up your cards over time.
Yeah.
And that can be done. Like the reason why we wanted to build on our own system to start with was because obviously with ETH, you need to hit a high price point in order to make the economics work currently. Because if it costs you, $100 to $400 to mint something, then you have to charge significantly more than that.
Big barrier.
So you only get whales, right? And that, to us, like we want to make our product accessible to more people. Like we have over 140 million unique objects on our platform right now, and 500,000 users. So nice. It doesn't work at that scale. So ultimately, we want people to be able to earn stuff for free in a freemium model. And then also, we have guys that have over 1 million cards in their collections and have spent, tens and tens of thousands of dollars on those collections. And some of them are very cool, very rare, signed, all that kind of stuff, like really high-end artwork. And you just have to figure out how to mix the two to make it, still exciting for the whale collectors, and also accessible for, the average Joe that just wants to get in.
Yeah. No, really interesting. And I think that economic model is super fascinating because it requires you to think very deeply about every demographic and forward think on what's going to happen. Because in crypto, traditionally, there's a high amount of speculators. When you have a high amount of speculators, they like to buy, there's a high demand, but people that hold these cards usually don't participate in the utility of it or the games of it. Right. So I've always found it very interesting, and I'm watching to see like a big user base actually use them, and a marketplace that actually balances both the usability and doesn't make these cards too out of reach, still maintaining scarcity. So there's just so many moving parts.
Yeah, it's hard, and like I don't think anyone's nailed it yet, including us. I think everyone's still like working to figure out what's going to be the best mix of that type of experience. And as soon as somebody nails it, like it's gonna catch fire pretty quick.
I think there's so many things you can do. There's like NFTs that you can use. You can maybe put some governance mechanics on them. You can probably issue some ERC20s in them. Like there's so many. You can attach DGX tokens that suddenly make them connected to the gold, like make them gold backed. There's just so much experimentation.
Yeah, like I love speaking of esports teams and stuff like that too, like controlling access to watch parties or special merch drops and things like that. I mean, some of these esports teams, they drop merch and it sells out in 2 minutes. If you could get reserved access and preferential access to things like that.
Can you imagine if like you own a signed card from someone famous, and then every time they do a merch drop, you get the signed copy because you have the signed card. Like, can you imagine the pricing on that card? It'll just go through the roof, right? Shit.
It'll be huge, absolutely huge.
Yeah,
And like, I think there's just so much opportunity. And like, that's the thing that I'm most excited about is the
me too.
creativity of being able to do that type of stuff now. It's
Me too.
just, it's so exciting. Yeah.
I'm waiting for that sort of stuff to come out because there's not just a collectibility. I think personally, and I've told you before, Mark, and we've had a conversation, that utility is just like the killer value proposition for the NFT space. They look good.
Well, I'm gonna steal that signed edition idea from you. I'm
How
definitely
good is
gonna
it?
gank that.
Yeah, I mean, like you should get special perks. Like, say you've got. So I'm talking with a project, and it's cool because like if I were to release an NFT, I could go to them and they can be the merchandise arm of the NFT. And if you hold that NFT, then you can unlock certain merchandise to be printable if you unlock them. And if they get certain drops, maybe people that own my NFT or the NFT that I release can get special ones. So
Yep.
yeah, unlocks a lot.
Yeah, huge.
All right, so let's talk about Kolectiv. We talked about EpexGG, which is your current baby. You've been running it with your team for 3 years. Kolectiv is a new project or someone that ties in a little bit different mechanics. Is that coming under EpexGG or is it a separate thing?
So it's a separate brand, and basically it leverages a lot of the same platform and tech, and basically integrates with Immutable X's platform. So the layer 2 ZK rollup solution. So basically our first implementation of that, and hopefully if this works out, we'll be migrating everything on the Epex side over to that as well.
Nice.
But Kolectiv, we really wanted to create like a separate brand for this because we wanted something crypto native, because Epex is really focused on esports games, streamers, that type of stuff. And we felt like it would make sense to actually like create something a little bit more focused on the crypto space if we were going to do a set and a collection for it. So Kolectiv is the brand that we've released for that. And maybe I'll just give you a rundown of kind of what we're doing. The set is, like I said, very much just focused on a collector card set, right? Like a fun old school collector cards. We're making a set of around 100 cards, 80 to 100 cards, and basically you got to fill the whole set. And it ranges anywhere from really cool artwork from guys like Baka Arts, Pranksy, a bunch of the top NFT influencers and artists, all the way down to like some really cool, innovative artists that hopefully become the next big, NFT artists. Hopefully we're breaking them and it's kind of like their rookie card, so to speak. And then also just like themes, like DeFi Summer, just kind of looking at what happened in the past year in crypto. How can we put that into a cool card set, work with some really great artists, and hopefully create something, fun and cool. We also have a leaderboard on it as well. So we're building in some game mechanics on top of the collection. So basically, once we open the site up after the pre-sale, people will kind of race to open packs. We've got the marketplace built in. And so the first person who completes the set is going to get an awesome capstone reward card. We're not sharing what it looks like yet. The first person who gets it's going to be able to see it. But suffice it to say, we're working with like some of the top concept art studios in the world that do work with like Riot and Tencent and Blizzard and all those guys. So they're really high quality, cool cards. And then we also have a leaderboard. So basically, every card is numbered, serially numbered. So the lower your serial number on the card, the higher the trophy score. So you can compete on the leaderboard. The top 10 leaderboard spots after 30 days are going to get another special reward card. And then we're also going to take some of those reward cards and we're going to put them into packs as a randomized bonus for people who are lucky enough to get them. And then the last thing I guess to mention is we're going to do a founder's card for everyone who buys during the pre-sale as well. So that's a card that if it's in your wallet for any of our upcoming future drops, you're going to get some special bonuses, and you're also going to get access to exclusive drops and things like that we do in the future as well.
Nice. So these NFTs and these cards, there's more utility to them than just collecting, right? Because collectability kind of dies out, but you're saying that there's access and there's other things and perks to owning them.
Absolutely.
So is there more in the works than what you told us, or like more?
Yeah, I mean we've got some surprises up our sleeves. Yeah, and then like we really want to kind of focus this on being like I said, something that we can look back on and say what happened over the year in crypto, and hopefully that becomes a fun thing to do every year to kind of see what the new set is and kind of what happened. And we think that again, in that 100-year kind of time frame, when people are looking back on a collector set from that year in crypto, they can learn a little bit about what was going on when we were all like running around with our hair on fire during the bull market and experimenting and trying to see what worked.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think every year the vibe would probably change, the art will change.
Exactly.
It'll be interesting to see. That's cool, man. So you said you've got a pre-sale coming up for this soon, right? So how can people get them?
Exactly. March 18th, we're going to launch the pre-sale. So you'll be able to reserve your packs. Then we'll be launching the site in April. That'll come down to our integration with Immutable and exactly when we can do it. But we're expecting mid-April, we'll be able to launch the site. So you'll be able to open packs, use the marketplace, and that'll start the clock for the leaderboard competition to see who gets the reward cards.
Nice. But 6 days from now, you can actually buy them on Kolectiv. Is that the website?
Correct. Yeah. Kolectiv.gg. That's with a K and one L.
Awesome.
And a V at the end. No E. I'll leave the link for you.
I'll put it in the link. Yeah, exactly.
Great.
No, it's cool. I think experiments like this on a big level that involved a big part of the community and the story, and that can continue year after year and also have utility to it. Like, you have to make something that lasts a long time. And so like projects that come up and then they kind of die because 2 months later there's another hot project, they're the ones that kind of fizzle out and people forget about. But something like yours, hopefully it'll be something that lasts, at least in the minds of people, lasts the test of time.
I hope so.
Yeah. Also, Mark, thanks for coming in and telling us about Kolectiv. Man, thanks for coming down.
Thanks for having me on, Maddie. Always good to chat.
Awesome. All right, guys. Hope you learned a lot. I'll be posting this soon. So that's Mark from Kolectiv. Talk to you guys soon.